Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Welcome back to another video. I'm so excited to be sharing with you guys what I did to study and how I passed the next generation NCLEX RN exam. First and foremost though, if you guys hear any background noises, I'm filming right next to my window and it is such a cool, crisp fall feeling day out today, so I had to have my window open. But that said, you'll probably hear construction noises, cars, airplanes, all the type of stuff, but hopefully it's not too distracting. So if you guys don't know who I am, hi, I just finished my Bachelor of Science in Nursing from the University of Ottawa here in Ottawa, Canada, and I've been documenting my journey throughout nursing school here on my channel. So now that I've passed the NCLEX, it is time to secure that job as an RN. So I would love if you guys would subscribe, join this little family of ours, and see where this journey of mine takes me. But I graduated nursing school on June 9th and I wrote my NCLEX exam on August 8th. I didn't start studying until the end of June, but I'm going to be talking to you guys all about how I studied, the resources I used, and kind of what I did. A little thing about me that I think is important to note is that in school, studying, grasping concepts, and doing well just did not come to me naturally. And I know you probably see these videos on my channel, like how to get an A in patho, how to get an A in med surg. And yes, I did do well in those classes, and yes, those tips I do think are very beneficial. However, I feel like I had to put in so much more effort than my classmates, my friends, peers, colleagues, whatever you want to call it. And I just think it was a lot harder for me to understand concepts. Like for example, I would sit in a lecture, the professor would teach about a certain topic, and then a couple slides later would ask practice questions. Now people would be blurting out the answers already, and I hadn't even really grasped what the question was asking me. And so there's things like that where I felt like I needed to be putting in way more effort than people in my class. But honestly, I do think it paid off when it came to studying for the NCLEX, and you will see when I speak about it a little bit later in this video. I did not do a ton of content review, and I truly believe that's because I had such a good foundation from nursing school, since I feel like I had to put in so much effort. So June 15th, I was like, okay, I need to buy my prep course. Now everybody was like uworld and Archer and Kaplan and Hearst and nursing.com and like all these different things, and I was so overwhelmed. And I know when I was looking to like find videos on how to study for the NCLEX at the beginning of my studying journey, and even up until like the day before my exam, everybody was talking about different prep courses, and I was in this huge predicament. I did not know what to pick, but ultimately I did end up choosing Archer Review. Obviously this video was not sponsored, but I just had a lot of close friends tell me to use Archer, and one of my closest friends actually used uworld, failed, and then took Archer and then passed. And Archer's just like more budget friendly, and so I just ended up choosing the Archer Review. I think it was like the 90-day package, because I had no idea when I was gonna write my NCLEX, but I know your ATT, which is your authorization to test, is valid for 90 days, so I figured that would be a good time frame. And I picked the one that had videos in the package, as well as obviously the question bank. I was working, and I'm still working, a 9-to-5 job, and so for me, actually, I only studied like during work hours, like my lunch break. That's when I would do my studying, and then sometimes obviously after work or during my commutes I would listen to certain resources and materials. But for the most part, I didn't do like a vigorous amount of studying whatsoever, or a vigorous amount of like content review. I think it was like towards the end of June, like June 26th or something, I was like, okay, I bought Archer like 10 days ago and I just have not been studying. I would do little like practice quizzes here and there of like 20 questions, but I wasn't really being productive. So I was like, okay, I need to have some sort of a refresher on the content. So I started off with the first content video on Archer, which was fluid and electrolytes. But as I went through it, I was like, okay, there are like so many videos on this app, and I'm sure they're beneficial, but I just cannot go through every single video. Some of them are like an hour long. I am going to be studying forever if I do that. So I saw on TikTok a girl ended up actually just watching their 2 comprehensive review videos. I think they were like 10 hours each, and they covered each different body system and like topic for the NCLEX. And so that is what I personally did for my content reviews. So what I would do is, if there was a section on neuro, I would do that for one day and then listen to it at 2 times speed, and then do like a couple of neuro questions, and then that was basically it. And the next day I would do like respiratory, and so on and so forth, until I finished each video. I didn't do more than like 1 body system really per day until towards the end when I was kind of getting sick of sitting there and I was like, okay, I need to get things going. Then the last couple days I listened to 2 or 3 body sections at once. I didn't do my first readiness assessment, and if you guys don't know what that is, basically Archer Review has these readiness assessments and they are basically there to give you an indication of your chances of passing the NCLEX. So if you get 4 high or very high scores in a row, that is a 98.5% chance of passing your NCLEX on the first try. So I didn't do my first readiness assessment until July 16th, and it was like 10 p.m. We had a dinner party at our place and people had just like left, and so I figured, okay, let me just do a readiness assessment. I had been putting it off forever and ever, but I figured I needed to do at least one to figure out what my baseline was. And to my surprise, when I did that readiness assessment, I got a high score, so a high chance of passing the NCLEX, and that was definitely reassuring, but honestly I felt like imposter syndrome. So I kept doing readiness assessments pretty much every single day, and then some days I would also do supplemental like 85 question exams on there. It's like not the one with instant feedback, but the other one, I forget what that's called. So I would do those. So sometimes I would do a readiness assessment like first thing before I studied, so sometime during the day, and then the evening time when I was kind of winding down for bed-ish, I would do sometimes another 85 questions. So you have over 2,000 questions in the question bank, and I will show you guys my statistics on Archer in a little bit here, but a lot of people did say that it would be beneficial to finish the question bank, so I just figured that that's what I'm going to do. So that's why I was doing so many questions per day, but like you don't need to do that. You don't need to finish your entire question bank. I just felt good knowing that I had kind of exhausted all of my material and all of my options. So once I started to do a couple more readiness assessments, I was scoring high, but I wasn't getting very high on any of them, and I knew that I needed that extra push. So I went and started listening to the klimek lectures. I'm sure you guys have probably heard all about them. They are super duper helpful, and so they're actually on Daily Motion on YouTube, and then I did recently find them on Spotify as well, which was really nice, especially if you're commuting and you don't want to like use your data to watch videos that you're just listening to. I ended up listening to K lectures, and literally after I listened to like 2 of them, I did another readiness assessment and my score was very high. So the klimek lectures were like that extra push that I needed to go from scoring high to very high. So at that point, obviously there were some topics that I felt like I didn't know as well as others, so I supplemented with Simple Nursing videos. I love Nurse Mike and Simple Nursing. I literally watched his videos all throughout nursing school. They helped me so much, but I had a couple of weak points in materials such as arterial blood gases, psychiatric medications, and isolation precautions. And these are big topics for the NCLEX as well, so I wanted to make sure that I actually knew them. So I watched his videos on those and a couple of other different topics, and that really helped solidify the gaps in my knowledge. And then also the mnemonics are very helpful, and they definitely came in clutch during my NCLEX as well. By the way, if you guys want a full video on my NCLEX experience, you can find that in the previous video before this. It is like a full ultimate NCLEX vlog, and I bring you guys along with me for like the day before the NCLEX, day of, as well as right after my exam and opening my results. You can get like a better insight on how I felt for like during the exam and everything. So I had done Simple Nursing to fill in the gaps. I kept doing my readiness assessments, and I was scoring very high, and I was feeling good. So my friend, where is it? I actually have right here. My friend wrote her NCLEX in 2022, and she bought these notes from Etsy that were accompanying the klimek lectures, and so I actually have them right here, and I ended up going through them as well, review by myself once I had already gone through the klimek lectures. So I would go through these, mark them up, add in some extra notes, and it was really nice because for me, even in nursing school, I liked having tangible notes that I could use to study from towards like the end of my studying / closer to my exam. I used to always print out things. You guys, if you have been watching my videos, you would know that this was just that thing that I really needed. I did follow along with this, and this was nice as well for that quick review, for memorizing some things that weren't sticking, and then just like reiterating some of the mnemonics and catchphrases that Mark K had in his videos. For the questions that I got incorrect, I did obviously read through the rationales, but I resorted to my tried and true nursing school bestie Quizlet. I just made Quizlets about the topics, concepts, questions that I was getting wrong, and I had over 400 terms in there, and I just used those to quickly review. I didn't go through that Quizlet an awful lot, but even 3 to 4 times, and I did find that that helped me a lot because some of the questions that I had gotten wrong on Archer that were in the Quizlet had similar like concepts on the NCLEX, if that made sense. It was really helpful for me to do that as well. That is something I did in nursing school, and I decided to stick to it for the questions that I got wrong and the rationales that were for the incorrect answers, and I find that to be very, very, very beneficial. And so like a lot of my studying was just done like transiently, like whether it was listening to something while driving or doing Quizlets on like the elliptical during like a workout or whatever. I didn't really set aside like intentional time to study besides I guess my practice questions, but that was really that. Like I probably only studied for like an hour max per day, and I didn't really study every day either, I'm not gonna lie, and I really didn't like kick things into full force until like maybe 3 weeks out from my exam, and that was only because I had pushed my exam up. So my exam was initially going to be on August 22nd, but I pushed it up to August 8th, and once I had pushed it up, I knew I had to like kick things into full force, and that's when I started to actually study. So a big part of NCLEX is obviously knowing your content, but then another big part of it is knowing test taking strategies and kind of knowing how the NCLEX asks you questions and being able to decipher like what NCLEX is like asking you. So for that, I listened to NCLEX Crusade International. He has a 7-day like course thing, and this is something that I listened to while I was working out. Really the most beneficial days for me were definitely day 5 and 6, where we were talking about like prioritization. I really found those very, very helpful, especially for the questions that I had no idea what they were asking me about. So I would definitely recommend that if you have extra time. Now, if you only had time to pick 2 different resources, I would pick Archer and Mark K, but if you need some extra reinforcement for content, I would suggest Simple Nursing, and if you need a little bit more help for test taking strategies, then I would suggest NCLEX Crusade International. So that's basically all I did. The day before my exam, I listened to Beautiful Nursing's comprehensive review video, which was I think an hour or an hour and a half long, and I listened to it at 2 times speed, and she basically just summarizes Mark Klimek lectures in that 1 hour, 1.5 hour. I listened to that at 2 times speed while I just did things around the house, and then in the evening time I reviewed my Mark K note once just quickly, and then that was it. I didn't study the day of my exam. I went in, did my exam, it shut off, I got the good pop-up, and I passed. So that was how I studied, but I wanted to go over my statistics on Archer review now just to show you guys how I did. So I'm gonna move over to the side so I'll have the Archer screen up here. So you can see here, these are my statistics. So out of 2,083 questions, I used 2,072 and have 11 unused. Actually, at the time, I had used up like all my questions, so I feel like Archer is probably adding more questions in or something, because the other day I checked and it was 6 unused and today it's 11, so I don't know what's going on with that. But I got 64.1% correct in total, and Archer does say if you get at least 60% average for your correct, then you are good to go, as well as the 4 high/very high, and then 35.9% incorrect, which are the ones that I ended up putting in my Quizlet to review as well as like watch videos on. So you go down here and I'll show you guys my previous tests. So you can see here I have 16 high/very highs. This borderline right here actually broke me, but when I looked at the statistics for this borderline, the average was literally borderline, so I was okay for that. And then for my CAT exams, I did 3, and these are computer adaptive exams that will mimic the NCLEX, so you'll get like harder questions and it'll tell you like if you'll pass or not. So I passed 2 and then I failed 1. The one that I failed, literally I had done it in like 20 minutes. I was so like sick and tired of it. Did it in like 20 minutes and I was so sick and tired of studying, and obviously I failed. Like it was a write-off. So I passed both of them, and that was good enough for me. So those were my Archer review statistics. So all in all, I really think Archer was the best question bank that I could have used. Obviously, if your school is already providing you with a question bank like ATI or Hearst or Kaplan or something like that, then I would just suggest sticking with that. You don't need to pay for any other like resource really. I think just having a good solid question bank is what matters the most. What I would also say is that if you are able to purchase Archer, maybe you don't need to buy the one with the videos, although I did find that the comprehensive videos were really helpful for me considering some of the content I had not seen since 2021, especially like peds and OB. But overall, I do think Archer looked the most like the NCLEX in terms of the questions, the classic and the NGN, and then also just the way the questions were worded. They were very vague, and so were the answer options, and that is exactly what the NCLEX is like. I did do a demo, I think it was like 30 questions of uworld, and uworld compared to NCLEX is like way different. The uworld questions are a lot more detailed, and you kind of get a lot of extra information that can kind of hint at what the correct answer may be, and then also the answer choices are a lot more detailed, so it just makes it easier for you to overall like eliminate answer choices and get the correct answer, but NCLEX is not like that at all. It is so vague. So I would definitely recommend Archer. It's cheaper too, but if you are somebody who is weak in content, then maybe Archer isn't for you, just because the rationales are a little bit more vague and to the point, versus uworld's rationales are a lot more detailed. So it just kind of depends how you feel, but you can also obviously use Archer and then use other resources to supplement the gaps in your knowledge, like free resources like simple nursing and whatnot. But overall, that is how I studied for the NCLEX and passed. Going into the exam, I felt like I kind of had imposter syndrome, obviously, because I don't know, I couldn't believe that like if I passed that exam I'd be an RN, but at the same time I felt like I had heard so many stories of people studying for months and hours a day every day, and I had not done that. So I just kind of felt like, am I even prepared? But honestly, like you'll know when you're prepared, because your brain will stop retaining information. Your brain will actually like reject information, and that's probably a good indicator that you're ready to write your exam. Also, you don't have to finish your question bank. If you can, I would suggest it. And when you do finish your question bank, try not to go more than a week after you finish your questions to your exam day, because you'll kind of be out of the flow of answering questions and you don't want to do that to yourself. So that's basically what I did to study for the NCLEX and pass, and I really hope you guys are able to take something away from this video. And that's all for me. Best of luck with your studying. Good luck, future RNs, and I will see you guys in the next one.